Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you get more information and find out about past shows at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Bill Gregg. And Bill, before we go any further, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching. And Bill Gregg is just about everything involved in theater, and his background had been with Mars Hill University, SAUT, theater, and a whole bunch of other things. And Bill, rather than me try to summarize everything, I'm going to ask you to put you on the spot here. And I'll give you about 2.5 hours to kind of summarize your background, if you would. You laugh, but it'll take that much.
Oh, no, it might take 5.
Exactly. But you've been everything involved in theater, Bill. Reader's Digest version, if you would.
Reader's Digest, elevator speech. I've been
Okay.
practicing the elevator speech, right, of my history. Well, I started here in Mars Hill in 1972. I got my theater arts degree there in 3 years because I was a very impatient person wanting to get on with my career. Took a year off and spent some time in Tennessee doing Parks and Recs theater for a while, and then came back and was a founding member of the Southern Appalachian Repertory Theater Company. So that was 1975. Then it was like, oh, what am I going to do next? I'm going to go to graduate school because the economy wasn't very good in 1975. We had gas lines, and things like that. Remember 75? So I said, I want to go to graduate school. So James W. Thomas, my mentor, T, recommended the University of Virginia. So I got accepted to the University of Virginia MFA acting directing program. So I went there. So I got my degree there. And here's a little tidbit. There's only ever been one person to win the annual directing award that they gave at the end of the year. 3 times. It was me. The 3 years I was at the University of Virginia, I won the director award every year. So from there, I went on to New York, and I'd met a director who was a guest at UVA named Bob Hall, and he had co-written The Passion of Dracula that was playing off Broadway in New York. I was his stage manager at UVA. So when I got to New York, he gave me my in. He was the one who could let me use his studio apartment until I got my feet wet and on the ground. And he also recommended me for an off-Broadway show. I got my equity card within 6 weeks. I was stage managing Big Bad Burlesque. And Big Bad Burlesque was a burlesque show off Broadway when Sugar Babies was playing on Broadway. And so the producers were Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, and Margaret Hamilton, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Don Brockett, who was Chef Brockett on Mr. Rogers. That didn't seem right to me. These guys were producing burlesque, and they had a children's TV show. So anyway, I got my equity card. So from there, I interviewed and got to be the production stage manager at Guthrie Theater Minneapolis. I was there for 4 years with Levy Choulet, and actually people who were with the original Guthrie company were still actors there at the time. Fast forward from there, I really wanted to direct and not stage manage anymore. So I went back to New York, and through a lot of turns and twists, I ended up directing at Theater Virginia in Richmond. And I went there as a freelance director, and on down to the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, where I was the production manager for a number of years, and then back out directing again and spending some time in New York. But I actually met my wife, Liz Aiello, at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival doing a production of Tomboys and Dinettes. We fell in love, and of course, the rest is history. We've been together now for 38 years. Anyway, we'll get back to that. But so from there, I was the artistic director of Theater Virginia in Richmond for a few years, then out to Illinois as the artistic director of the New American Theater for 6 years. But all the time I was doing those companies, I was spending summers at SART. I have now participated in 33 summers at SART. So in 2000, I came back when James W. Thomas, my mentor, along with C. Robert Jones and Virgil Gray, Doc, I came back and was the artistic director in 2000 of SART. And I was there until 2018. And I retired, and I've been I haven't directed anything for 4 years now. And now this season, the 33rd season, Bill has been a part of SART. I'm directing again, C. Robert Jones's play, Taking a Chance on Love, which we premiered in 2006.
Now,
That's my nutshell. That's
now
it.
let me also ask you, Bill, because I seem to recall too that you've done acting as well. I know, right?
I did.
And in terms of acting, let me see if I have this right. It reminds me of my favorite role that you were in. You were once a tree, I believe you once told me. Is that correct?
Yeah, I played a tree. I played a television. I played some various parts in elementary school plays. Yes.
Okay, Bill, and hold on. I think we're frozen, so I want to come right back to you. Hi, back with Bill Gregg, and we're talking about Bill's very theatrical career with saw it, a whole bunch of different other things as well. And Bill, of all the things you've done, do you have a favorite thing you do? Is it directing, acting, producing, teaching? Do you have a favorite activity?
There's probably one favorite thing in each of those. So I have a favorite thing as an actor. I have a favorite thing as a teacher. But my favorite thing, as an actor is I did The Crucible when I was in college, and I played the Reverend Hale, and I ended up doing The Crucible as an actor again, and then directing it 3 times after that. So The Crucible became one of those things you always came back to. But as a director, which I kind of shifted in graduate school from acting to directing, was probably directing Cat on a Hot Tin Roof 4 times, the Tennessee Williams play. And the most memorable moment of directing Cat on a Hot Tin Roof was directing it in 1999 with the actor Pat Hingle. And people will remember Pat Hingle because he was Commissioner Gordon in the Batman movie.
Sure.
With Val Kilmer, right? So, who I also worked with, by the way, at the Guthrie. I'll just drop the mic on that one. But anyway, but anyway, so by working with Pat in 1999 in that production of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, I directed it once before, but Pat had done it both in LA and with Emily Mann right before he came down here. And he wanted to do it again. And his sister had lived in Weaverville, and he wanted to visit his sister. And so somehow he and Jim Thomas got connected, and he agreed to do it. And Pat said he had played Big Daddy. And I will tell you right now, it was one of the most special, moments in my life. And I'd worked with a lot of people. I worked with Patti LuPone and Kelsey Grammer and all kinds of celebrities in my career. But working with Pat Hingle was like, this is the deal, because we were there. We could have coffee, we could have lunch, we could do all kinds of things again. So,
And you said too, what had long been one of my favorite actors, an amazing actor.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't see him in that production, but I would have loved to.
Well,
I could
yeah,
just see him.
he did the original Broadway production. He played Gooper, the brother man, the other son of Big Daddy. But he had a terrible accident. This is in his biography. He, in his apartment building, he fell down an elevator shaft and was in the hospital for a number of months, and was actually supposed to do the movie with Elizabeth Taylor and Paul Newman, but he couldn't because he was recuperating from that. But he did do Splendor in the Grass with Warren Beatty in the 1960s. So he had a great career, But then in his later life, he wanted to do, plays. So he and Betsy Palmer came and did a fundraiser for SART 2005 of Love Letters by A.R. Gurney. And that was a very special treat. And unfortunately, that's the last time I saw Pat. But anyway, that was my directing. Now teaching, I was a really good stage manager, and I love teaching stage management. And so I stage managed for a lot of directors, so it was one thing I could teach in my sleep, and I enjoyed doing it and inspiring young people to go on and be stage managers. So that's what I like.
It's funny you mention that, Bill, because that's one of the things I tell folks, that if you want to get involved in theater, become a stage manager at some point in time. Even if you're an actor, but it's not a great experience for any actor to do stage managing work, to see both sides.
Well, it is. And how I came to stage management was rather odd, because I thought I was going to the Arena Stage in DC as an intern in directing, but they didn't have an intern in directing. So I went as a stage management intern. Well, my goodness, I got to work with everything. I got to see all aspects of the theater. And so everything I'd learned in class was now coming to life in front of me. And that's why I ultimately decided to become a stage manager, an equity stage manager, and it worked out fine. It was great.
And so for the folks who aren't familiar with Southern Appalachian Repertory Theater, SART, Just if you would, Bill, talk a little bit about what it is. It's such a great hidden venue, that people from Asheville should know about, and yet a lot of people don't. But talk about what SART's all about.
Well, SART started in 1975 as a partnership with Mars Hill College at the time and the Madison County Bicentennial Commission and the Theater Arts Department to create a summer professional theater company that would do plays that celebrated the rich cultural heritage of the Southern Appalachian region. And that was its beginning. That was its mission statement from the beginning. And they commissioned Howard Richardson, who wrote Dark of the Moon, which was a hit on Broadway, to do a new play called Ark of Safety to kick it off. And that it would somewhat be like outdoor dramas that are the same play every year. But from that time, it evolved into doing new plays. Sometimes were about the Southern Appalachian region, but they could be new plays from everywhere, because the goal was to introduce people from out of the region to the cultural heritage of the region, and the people who lived here to the world of the theater beyond the region. So that was how it started. And for 50 years now, this is our 50th anniversary, 50th season, and we have been continuing to do that and beyond. We've done almost 60 world premieres of new plays in that 50-year heritage, over 260 plays on all the summers we've been here. And it does a wide variety of plays, musicals, and dramas every summer.
So, Bill, let's now fast forward to where we are today after 50 years. Some exciting things are happening, I guess, coming up in the next few weeks. What are they?
Oh, okay. So we are opening on July 19th, the revival of C. Robert Jones's play, Taking a Chance on Love, that we premiered in 2006. So we're very excited about that play, to be able to do it again, and me to be able to do it again with C. Robert Jones. So that will open and run for 2 weekends in rep with The Tall Woman by Wilma Dykeman. But for me, the most exciting thing that's happening during the run of that play is a 50 season reunion of SART alums from around the country. We have reserved for the weekend of July 26th, 27th, and 28th, the Junebug Retro Resort in Weaverville, and all the alums who are coming from out of town that could book are staying there at the Junebug Retro Resort. On Friday night, the 26th, the performance of Taking a Chance on Love, it will be a special performance with alumni not only from SART, but alumni from the university have also booked seats for that night. So it's sure to be a sellout. And if anybody wants to come to that night, they better get their tickets now, because a lot of people are coming. And they delayed the opening night reception to that night to be able to include all these dignitaries from SART's history in that evening. So that's that weekend.
Well, hold a little bit on that. So tell me, when it was first done, did you direct it then also?
I did direct the world premiere with an interesting cast, and there are people shouting out. I'll give a little shout out here. Ralph Redpath was the lead male in the first production. Chris Allison, people know these folks from around town.
Sure.
Chris Allison was in it as well. Flint Burton, who is not from the area, but was also in that production, along with Kay St. Clair. And we know Kay St. Clair because she's a veteran of SART, and also she is the wife of our dear colleague, Neil St. Clair, right? So she was in that production as well. So there were a number of people in that show. Kenny Gannon, a longtime actor at SART, was in that production. So we had a kind of an all-star cast of folk in that show. And so this time, it's almost 20 years later.
Right.
Those people are kind of too old. I hate to say it. They've aged out. Actors age out of parts, right? So you can't be 30 when you're in your 50s. You can't be, whatever. So now we have a new cast, but we do have one person who's in the cast from before, and that's Alyssa Kennedy. And I tell Alyssa all the time, you've grown into your part.
Well, tell me, the folks don't know the play, and I don't. What's it all about?
It's a romantic comedy set in Charleston. And it is on Kiowa Island, and it is the summer home or the beach house of the owners of the Charleston newspaper. And they're trying to decide whether or not to sell to Gannett. Gannett bought a lot of newspapers, sure, right? So, and they're trying to decide, do we sell to Gannett? And that's a little bit of the motor that drives the play. But at the same time, the weekend is a celebration of the engagement of the grandson of this wealthy, stellar family in Charleston.
And
The interesting thing is, and I'm not giving anything away by saying this, he's engaged to a woman much older than him. So the fun in the play is that it's star-crossed lovers, and all the people you think should be together may not always end up together in this weekend when the people come for the celebration of the engagement.
in the current production, who are some of the folks in it?
Kay Galvin, who's also a SART veteran, is in it. Nate Mueller. I don't know if people know Nate. He's a choreographer and actor in town. His wife Tina did a lot of choreography for us over the years, and they together co-choreographed A Little Night Music, which SART did a number of years ago. Alyssa Kennedy and Melissa Stone are both in the show.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, so we have them. Daniel Henry is in the show.
Great. Some really good cast. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Allison Young Grippentrog, who did 4 shows at SART over the years, is also in the play. And how many do I have? I have to, they're 8. They're 8 in the cast. I got to remember if I have all 8 of them, because I don't want to leave anybody
5
out.
or 6 of them. But I'm so excited to see them, because Allison I haven't seen in so long as an actor. Very talented actor. Right. Daniel, I just love watching. So that's very exciting. So
well, yeah. Oh, but we have 2 newcomers. I don't want to leave them out. Well, they're newcomers, sort of. They are Emma Tate, who was in Spectrum, and John Gurosio, who was also in Fiddler and in Spectrum.
Okay, so
they're both new players. So I think I've gotten almost everybody there.
Okay, so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So it should be a good play, and so you have to catch it. You have to check the SART, I guess, not the SART website. How do you find out information about it, Bill?
Oh yeah, the SART website has all kinds of ticket information, the dates of the play, and everything else.
And that website is what?
It's sartplays.org.
Okay, so again, you got me really excited about it.
Oh, it could be sartplays.com. It's changed over the years.
Exactly.
But if you don't get one, try the other. Either sartplays.org or sartplays.com.
But the point is, you have to pick it out, because you want to catch that show, and then you want to catch the other one. It's playing verses. They rotate.
Yes, they do. They alternate. Now, on the Friday night of the 26th, though, they both play at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one will be in the black box and one will be in the other. So we'll have a full house for sure.
And there'll be some reception to attend afterward.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be a lot of people
No
there.
kidding. Yeah.
So, Bill, talk also then about what else is happening that weekend. So we talked about the play itself. Then the 27th, talk a little bit more about what's going to take place.
So on the 27th, the Saturday, we have an all-day celebration of the 50 seasons of SART. And we start with a memorial service for those SART veterans and alums who have passed in the 50 years. They have a little creekside chapel there at the Retro Resort. And we will have about a 30 to 45-minute remembrance with music. And the names will be called out of all those who've gone before us in that memorial service. We'll take a little break and have some lunch. There'll be a food truck there for food, and also a beverage truck there as well. And then at 1 o'clock, we're going to start with an open mic with performers who've all been at SART at one time or another, going all the way back to the beginning. And we're talking about singers, piano players, guitar players, musicians, including Liz Aiello, Bruce Lang, Fancy and the Gentleman, which includes Rebecca O'Quinn, and she was at SART in Gypsy. She played Gypsy Rose, and Tom Godleski, whose play we premiered, Fresh Preserves, in our history. They'll be there for a little while, and anyone else who would like to get up, and maybe you, Blaine, would like to even tell a joke. Anybody else who'd like to, in the open mic, get up and tell a story about SART and the history of SART, and that'll go on until about 4 o'clock. And so that's our day of celebration. So there'll be a lot of people, and it's free to the public. It's open to the public to come out. And if you ever saw a play at SART and you want to see some of the people you saw over the years, come on out to the Junebug Retro Resort and just sit by the creek in an Adirondack chair and talk to them about how they remember you.
How do you find out information about what's happening on that day?
Well, we have it on Facebook right now on our SART 2024 reunion. And that's where that information can be had. You can probably also get information at the box office. I will be giving that to them this week. If you can get them, that number's not in my head right now, but there's that, and they will hopefully put up on their website information about it as well.
Okay, so it sounds like a really exciting day, but you got me interested in it, Bill, because again, if you grew up seeing SART plays or seeing some of the people in SART, you're going to want to be there this
Well,
weekend.
absolutely. We actually have a young woman who's coming back, and she was in the first production of Sound of Music in 1976.
Okay,
She's no longer the little girl she was then. She's a young lady, and so but people are I bet there are probably 25, 30 people coming back from the first decade of SART to celebrate this weekend.
and so also you mentioned if people want to find out more about it too, go find that Facebook page because that's where you're going
Yes,
to see all the pictures and
all
find out
the
who's
agenda
coming.
pictures. Yes,
Okay,
that's right.
looking forward to it. Bill, I laugh because in addition to doing that, you're also, as always, doing about 23 other things simultaneously. So
Yeah.
talk about some of those other things you're doing. So you're working on this, then
Well,
you're also
this summer, Neil St. Clair and I produced a radio play called "The Land of Milk and Honey," and it's now on Spotify. It started on WART in Marshall, which is the Arts Council's radio station. And we first did it there, and then we archived it onto Spotify. So you can now stream all 19 episodes on Spotify. And there are a lot of people in that. And again, shout outs Amanda Ladd, John Grippentrog, Tim Walker, who was in the original season at SART in 1975, has a role in it. Neil has a role. Kay St. Clair has a role. And I actually do a role with a number of other people in town. I just discovered Elijah York when I did the Laramie Project reading out at the Weaverville Community Center, and also Lynn Neihart, who's been the drama
sure.
teacher over at Owen for many, many years, and also a SART alum. So we put this thing together, and the playwright Jerry Jacover is actually from Chicago. And it's a story about what happens when people from Madison, Wisconsin, meet the people of Madison, North Carolina.
How long is each episode?
They're about 10 minutes long, so you can
Okay.
binge them very easily. You can listen to 4 or 5 at one time, which is the way I think most people want to do it.
Okay,
Because you free,
sounds
yeah,
like
it's
a lot
fun.
of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So then in addition, you're in a book project also as well.
Well, yeah, we're trying to get the 50-year history of SART put together. And Pisgah Press, Andy Reid and Pisgah Press are the publishers. Andy's the editor. And we're trying to get that together pretty soon. So it's called Such Stuff as Dreams Are Made On, 50 Years of the Southern Appalachian Repertory Theater. And so we couldn't publish it now because we wouldn't be able to include the 50th season.
Right.
So sometime, hopefully by the end of the year, and you'll be getting information about this too as well. We want to get it into publication and out there for people. It will be a pictorial history with anecdotal stories, and we hope that people will really enjoy it.
It's funny, as you talk about it, I can just see so many of these scenes in my mind, just for some reason, it was it's been a great 50 years.
It has.
And for you to have been involved in, and then that's pretty exciting to look back.
Yeah.
Do you have, put you on the spot, do you have a favorite memory that comes to mind or all the 50 years? One story, one play comes to mind?
Well, there were the thing about the theater is it's live, and there are often mishaps that happen along the way that you have to cover up for. And I wasn't originally supposed to be Mortimer in the Fantastics in the very first season, but the actor who was playing Mortimer had a disagreement and left early. And so before opening night, I had to go on as Mortimer. I was a stage manager, and I had to go on as Mortimer. So I ended up playing Mortimer in that first production of the Fantastics in 1975. Well, of course, Mortimer's very famous scene is he commits suicide. He does the Harry Carey thing. It's like he says, "Die for the man, Mortimer." And so, how many Mortimers have there been in the history of the Fantastics? Hundreds, I'm sure, or more. And they all do some sort of prolonged, execution of themselves. So I decided that I would take poison, and I would take a long, slow, all the stuff that goes with it, the choking, the gag, all of that. And then I'm now prostrate on the ground in a spotlight. But the spotlight is in cahoots with me. The spotlight keeps moving away, but I want to die in the spotlight. So I keep crawling to the spotlight. And finally, when I get the spotlight, it's like a Looney Tunes thing. I get my fingers on the edge of the spotlight and I pull myself into the spotlight and I die in the spotlight. So that was my take on Mortimer. So all the way back to the beginning, that was one of my fondest memories of being able to perform that role accidentally and figuring out how to do that scene.
So funny you remember that. But and hopefully it's be a great story to tell at the reunion. Yeah, 50 years.
Oh yeah,
when we
yeah.
talk
We
about
got
it.
lots of stories. Lots of
Yeah,
stories.
I guess the tough thing, Bill, is going to be for you is to keep people restricted to under 10 minutes or something. I don't know how long you're going to give them at the open mic.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe so many people I haven't seen except on Facebook. I've reconnected with a lot of people on Facebook that I hadn't seen or heard from in many many years.
Are you hearing from
And
a lot of people that are going to be coming back?
oh, we are. I think there's going to be well over 100, 150 people that day when you include audience members. Since it's open to the public, there are audience members who've been coming to SART for years that will want to come and say hello to people they've seen on stage, during that time.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Bill, because you, I guess, emceed or introduced that gathering a couple of, I guess, months ago or weeks ago, where SART had a show this season.
Yes, yes.
What was the name of that
Oh,
again?
it's called the SART Spectrum, 50 years
Right.
of SART. Right.
And it's just talking about it, but you could see there's so many people in the audience had been there with you, and
Right.
had
That's
seen
right.
that show. So it's very exciting to have the people come back and see their favorites and people they've grown up with.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that'll be cool. Bill, let's talk about then what's going to happen. So come to this upcoming event. Um, let's close, I guess, if you would, by updating us on some of the rest of the Gregg family. So I've known you for now. I've known you for 20 years. It
Yeah.
actually has been 20 years.
Isn't
And
that amazing?
exactly. And, I've seen you as teacher, professor, whatever, director, but you also have a very talented family. And if we give a shout out to some of them as well, let me ask you, go through each member of the family. Lucas, of course, I know. What's Lucas up to?
Okay, so Lucas, of course, went to SCAD and got a degree in television and movie production. And for a couple of years, he was working on sets as a key PA in things like MacGyver down in Atlanta. He did turned Washington Spies up in Richmond for a year. He did some movie work, when he first got out of school. Then he went to New York. He decided I need to be in New York and working up there. And he had some options to do a TV show up there. Same thing he'd been doing in Atlanta. Could have been Gotham, could have been The Last OG, which was actually a show that Tracy Morgan was producing. So he opted to take The Last OG over Gotham. And a year later, Tracy asked him if he wanted to be his executive assistant. And Lucas said yes. And so he's been Tracy Morgan's executive assistant for the last 6 years.
By the way, will he be coming out?
Oh, yeah, Lucas will be here.
Okay, great.
Lucas will be here.
I don't know if Cameron, how about Cameron? Will Cameron be there?
Cameron will be here too.
Okay,
He's
fantastic.
he's living in LA. He's
And
of course trying to be an actor, and he's got a good voiceover career going. He does a lot of voiceover work, but he's got a manager who's working with him, and he goes to auditions. He's still taking classes and doing everything a working actor would do. So
okay.
that's Cameron.
Then Amelia, I'm very excited about, is up to what?
Oh, now Amelia too is she's the assistant activities director at adult daycare at Care Partners, which she's really loving because she's able to use some of the family background in theatrical activities in adult daycare. So she's excited.
And then lastly, turn to your beautiful wife, Liz, and what's Liz involved in?
Liz is doing well, and so she's not been able to perform on stage live as much recently, but so she's turned to going into the studio with Bruce Lang, and they put together a new CD called Who Knows Where the Time Goes? The Classic Women of Pop. So you have Carly Simon, and you have Judy Collins, and you have Bonnie Raitt, and you have those classic women from the late 1960s and 70s. I mean, the title song is Who Knows Where the Time Goes? But she also sings things like Desperado, which Linda Ronstadt made famous. And of course, Patsy Cline's Crazy is on there because she played Patsy Cline for so many times. So she's been in the studio. So she's working on now, and Bruce is helping to engineer and re-engineer all the kind of classic signature songs from the musicals she's done. And we would hope to have that done in the next few weeks.
Okay, so something else to look forward to. So if I come to the SART reunion weekend, I'll
Yes.
get to see all the rest of the Gregg family.
Yes, you
I
will.
look forward to.
Everybody.
And Bill, just to recap, if we can, mention the information best is go to the SART website. Is that
Right.
correct?
It's our website for tickets for Taking a Chance on Love. Yes.
And then to get update on the weekend is at the Facebook page. Is
At the
that
Facebook
correct?
page. That's correct. SART
Okay.
Reunion 2024.
And lastly, if people want to keep track of you, what's the best way to find out about you?
That's a good question, Blake.
Or
I've never been one of those people to have a website or anything. I do have a Facebook page, and you can keep up with me somewhat on that. But mostly, probably whatever promotions come down the pike, that's the best way to keep up with me.
Okay, sounds great. Bill, as always, pleasure. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And
Yes.
very exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. You too.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
You be well. Thanks.